Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of the Left Wing Film Club. I am TJ Whitehead, Powers Taken Not Given, joined by John Cooper of Counterpoint Politics. John, I was just hearing someone the other day referring to us as the Trey Parker and Matt Stone of political commentary. I don't know how you feel about that, but I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool comparison.
I'm pretty sure Trey Parker and Matt Stone are the Trey Parker and Matt Stone of political commentary. But I'll take it, TJ. I'll take it. I'm used to getting Rob McElhenney from South Park, so that's I'll definitely take it. By the way, if you can turn your mic up, you might want to. You're just definitely coming through a little bit quieter here. For those who don't know, TJ's in the process of a move, so his whole setup is different week to week.
Oh, higgledy-piggledy, yeah. Hopefully we'll be done in 2 weeks or so. We'll be good.
Yeah. But I'll turn you up here. But yeah, no, I'm excited to get to today's episode. So it's funny, the way that we got to this is we were thinking of, okay, what's our next Left Wing Film Club? What are we going to talk about? And we've been doing films in the Left Wing Film Club, but we did Superman. I haven't gone to see Fantastic Four yet, and I haven't heard it's particularly political. We did Sinners, and we have a couple other on the table that we want to talk about, but South Park has been the number one show in all of streaming. And did you not know that, TJ?
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, so it has been a massive success and obviously incredibly political. It seemed we would be remiss not to start talking about it, especially since we kind of had this opportunity here where we didn't have a movie we really wanted to discuss. The funny thing is, we decided to do this on Thursday instead of Tuesday because South Park comes out on Wednesdays, but lo and behold, I didn't know they weren't going to have an episode last night. So we'll be doing the first two episodes of the season here. If you're watching this next week, then sorry we didn't discuss the third episode. Hasn't happened yet. But before we jump into it, anything that you wanted to say?
Well, I haven't watched South Park in a really long time. I can't remember the last. I mean, it was around the movie that came out a million.
Really? Okay, so it's been a while for you.
It's been a very long time. I used to really like the show. Somewhere along the line, I stopped really caring about it. But God, I'm interested in what you have to say about these two episodes and its overall cultural impact, because I'm not sure. I heard someone else today talking about how this is making some people rethink their politics or whatever, which kind of surprised me, but I don't know. What have you heard?
So, yeah, I mean, I haven't heard that specifically, but I do think that I'll put it this way. It does seem to be being made with the intention to speak to certain groups of people in an effort to get them to change their politics. And we're definitely going to talk about how effective it might be at doing so, at being a effective satire of MAGA in general. But yeah, the first thing that I want to talk about is kind of our history with the show, because this is South Park is an American institution as much as any other show. Like The Simpsons, I think, is one of the few shows that have actually been running longer, in terms of narrative shows, at least. And it's been, I'm pretty sure it is almost as old as I am, TJ. Like, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know how old it is, but I saw that this is the 27th season. So somewhere
yeah. So I'm 28. So like it's got to be damn close. I'm pretty sure it came out in like 97. So, this has been running for so long and it's covered so much. And I definitely, like, I watched the most, like I think most of us did in our middle school, high school years. And that's kind of, the humor that it's targeted at.
Yeah.
But it also, I feel like it was pretty darn good during that time. South Park's a show that kind of comes in and out in terms of quality, because for those who don't know, South Park is a marvel. It is a miracle that South Park gets made. They make it in the moment. Like when they're not doing this anymore, but when they ran weekly episodes, they would air the show on Wednesday. They'd start working on the next show on Thursday, and they'd be done the edit by the following Wednesday. And it was 6 days to air. They made every show in 6 days, which allowed the show to be incredibly topical. It's not it has never been the most polished show as a result, but it is a incredibly unique piece of art, because no other show, no other satire operates on that kind of timeline, and it's really cool. And I was watching the most kind of in the lead up, the seasons leading up to the Trump administration, the first Trump administration. And that's when they started they were always political, but that's when they started getting more long form. Like in those seasons is when they started doing actual multi-episode long arcs and season long arcs instead of just every episode is entirely bottled in and of itself like a Simpsons would be. Yeah. And I thought that was really good when they started doing that. But then they made Garrison Trump because they were like, oh, well, there's no fucking way that Trump is going to be president for the next 4 years. We're going to do this like season-long storyline where Garrison becomes Trump, and then Trump won. And that's when I stopped watching. Not because, necessarily I grew out of the show. I don't think I necessarily did because I'm watching this. I'm enjoying it. But like the show just lost the ability to be itself and be topical because they just wrote themselves into a corner. And I heard that like the recent specials they made were actually pretty good again. I haven't gone back and watched them. Maybe I will now because I was pretty impressed with the 2 episodes I've watched so far this season. It really feels like they have their spark back. It feels like they have a raison d'etre for making these episodes other than the $1.5 billion Paramount paid them. But what's your knee-jerk reaction to what you saw?
My knee-jerk reaction, one, is I don't want to hear any shit about using big words unnecessarily. When you threw out raison d'etre, come on. What?
It's a South Park episode. We got to be pulling out the critical vocabulary here, TJ.
Incredible. So if I throw out agent provocateur or something in here, you can throw it right back at me, but that was what. Okay, so I saw that it was on its 27th season, so it's roughly 27 to 30 years old, something like that. And my reaction was similar. I said, wow, this show's been on a long time, and shows should never be on that long, is my opinion. That is insane. There's no way. I don't know how many of the seasons of the 27 are good. Lucky if it's half of them. I mean, you start getting diminishing returns pretty quickly. If you have an idea, even if you have a genius idea, and you flesh it out, there's only so much juice you have in that, right? I mean, and especially with the same characters and the reason but animated shows can last so long is because they're animated. The actors never age. The characters are whatever you draw them to be, and it either freezes them in stasis, which is bad for characters, or they become flanderized, which I think is kind of what happened to South Park, that the further you go back further and further, you have Cartman is less annoying, right? The annoying part is there, but he grows into being the monster that he is now. And as far as the political commentary of the show, I remember when I found out that Trey Parker and Matt Stone were libertarians, and said, ugh, gross, immediately. Like an immediate reaction was gross. I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that they were shitting on Trump back in 2015 or 2016. That's news to me.
Yeah, so like the whole thing with South Park, for better or worse, it shits on everyone. Like that's the whole thing. That's the whole shtick of South Park. It's no one's safe. They're going to attack everyone. Now, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are libertarians, but they're not libertarians in the way that the libertarians we argue with online are libertarians. They're actually more similar to our side of the political aisle.
Really?
So again, there's no like thesis. They never wrote like this is our political views, but just knowing them, having followed them for a while, because they are very, very good artists. Like they are incredibly good at what they do. South Park is very shticky, and you would never look at it and go, "This is high art." But if you listen to them talk about their process and how they approach, there's just a lot to learn from these guys. So I've been following them for a while. And the thing with them is that they're libertarian in the sense they're kind of like, hey, we don't want over-regulation. We don't want government telling us what to do. But they're not libertarian in the sense where they're like, taxation is theft. Like, that's not the kind of libertarian they are. They're more so, hey, let government get out of people's hair as much as possible. But they generally lean left. Like, they generally, if you look at the show forever, what they've said in public, they typically vote Democrat. They typically lean that way because they actually see, the Democrats are actually the party that interferes less in people's lives, than the Republicans. So they're libertarian in the sense that they're for small government, but they're not libertarian in the crazy sense. Does that make sense?
They shouldn't be called libertarians then, if that's the case, because honestly, libertarians, their main thing is the taxation part. That's actually their raison d'etre, if you want to put it that way, lowering taxes and everything, everybody. And the second thing, you said that you would never call South Park high art, and that's fair. I don't think anyone would. But even though it's been a long time since I have seen it, and I don't see a whole lot from Trey Parker and Matt Stone outside of it, I do willingly admit, gleefully admit, it is a very brilliant concept and done show. And I'm glad you brought up 6 Days to Air. I saw that documentary as well. Mm-hmm. Incredible, absolutely incredible. It's just like John said, they give themselves that time crunch. They don't front load the episodes and work on the off season. Every week they're working on next week's episode. They're getting the ideas. They're drawing it on the whiteboard. They're doing the storyboards together. And they said something in that documentary that has stuck with me for a long time. That when you're writing a paper and you're doing your draft, and then you write the paper, and then you look at it again, you draft it again, and the paper's done, and you spend days, weeks maybe, trying to make this paper 3% better. And they're saying that's dumb. It's already at 97%. You're going to waste hours and days and weeks trying to make it 3% better. No, it's good to go. And I like that, actually. I was like, you know what? That's kind of true. We find ourselves just tinkering. And a lot of times you make it worse, actually, when you tinker around with it more and more. But you give yourself the deadline. Hey, I got to focus on this, make the creative juices flow. And sure, maybe if they did it 9 days in advance, it could be 0.5% better. But why? Just do it. Just get the stuff out the door. And don't let yourself dawdle on that. So I did appreciate that aspect, at least, of how they at least did the show back then. I think you said they don't do it that way now, but in those days, I thought it was good.
Well, I mean, they still do it that way. Oh. It's just that they have their freedom. This week was a scheduled, we're not going to have a show, but the week, so there's been 2 episodes in 4 weeks here, right? So the first one aired, and then the next week they're like, we're not going to release a show this week. We're going to do it next week because Paramount gave us $1.5 billion and we can do whatever the fuck that we want. And so far paying off the Paramount, and we're going to get to that aspect of it too. But yeah, so they still do the time crunch thing. It's just they are not beholden to, we absolutely must have this schedule like they were back in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s for cable television, right? So anyway. This is our review of South Park. For those of us just joining us, we're going over the first 2 episodes here. And the first thing I want to ask you, TJ, and I think that this is probably the most important aspect of this season and what they're doing new, because I mentioned that previously they had Garrison as their Trump replacement, and they have a new Trump character now. Totally new, brand new Trump character. What are your thoughts on the Trump character? Do you think it is A, funny, and B, effective satire?
I found the Trump character mildly funny. I don't know if I thought it was super funny. And do I think it's effective satire? No, I do not. And it's not because I didn't think it was side-splitting funny, the Trump character. That's not it at all. I don't think there's any such thing as effective satire against Donald Trump. I think that people have been at this for, honestly, more than 10 years. Trump was an easily parodyable character as a personality for decades now. And it's not possible to make Trump look dumber than he actually does. That's why all these comedians that do, Shane Gillis does a great Trump impersonation, right? But it's funny. He sounds like Donald Trump, and that sounds like something Trump would say, and he does a good job with it. You see this, but it doesn't do anything against Donald Trump. I don't think you could possibly make effective Trump satire. We all thought we could, back in 2015, 2016, maybe even up to 2020. But after that, so that's not a dig at them that they did a bad job. I just don't think this exists. What do you think?
Yeah, no, and I actually... I agree with you up to a point.
Mm-hmm.
in that, yeah, like Trump killed comedy. Like I
Yes.
feel like people forget this, but Trump absolutely killed satirical comedy and political satire, because how are you supposed to make something so absurdly funny? It just didn't work. Like all of the late night shows started sucking.
Yep.
All of like even like the ones that have recovered, they've kind of veered away from trying to satirize Trump, because you can't. You just, it's not funny. And that's why I think that what they decided to do here is at least the most effective satire I've seen, because it doesn't try to mimic Trump and what he does and what he actually says. It takes an ethos of Donald Trump, a caricature of the type of person that Donald Trump is, instead of a characterization, a caricature of Donald Trump himself. And I do think that it can kind of effectively poke fun at Trump in that way, without having to waddle through the impossibility of making him sound absurd. Like what they're doing, I'm sure people know this time, but he is very similar to their characterization of Saddam Hussein back in the South Park movie, which is the last thing TJ said he watched, with him dating Satan. I mean, they very directly, I mean, he's cut up like the same, like real photo face on the body, like it's exactly the same. He was dating Satan too. Satan's like, you remind me a lot of this other guy that I knew. Before they cut to Trump, they're like, what are you, some Middle Eastern tin pot dictator? And it's like, yeah, that's what they're saying. They're poking fun at the idea of what Donald Trump is and represents, without attacking Donald Trump the person. And again, is that going to be effective? I think the jury's still out on that. It certainly has been entertaining. It certainly got the eyeballs. But I think it is better than any other attempt that I've seen.
I think I just thought of one way, the only successful, well, at least to me, satire Trump that I have seen, and it doesn't come from any television or movie production or anything like that. Is actually what Gavin Newsom is doing on Twitter. Have you seen that? What Gavin Newsom is doing? That is great.
I was interested to hear your thoughts on that.
That is fucking great, man. Because not only, for those of you wondering what I'm talking about here, Gavin Newsom has started tweeting like Donald Trump, and I'll put it up here as show it. So he put up this tweet, was it yesterday, I think? And he says, in all caps, Donald Trump, the lowest polling president in recent history. This is your second to last warning. The next one is the last one. Stand down now, or California will counter-strike legally to destroy your illegal crooked maps in red states. Press conference coming, hosted by America's favorite governor, Gavin Newsom. Final warning next. You won't like it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is the only good satire of Trump I've seen, because it's actually accompanied with something he's doing. Not only is he making fun of Trump, what can you say to that, honestly? I conservatives saying, oh, this is childish and immature. That doesn't work on anybody, right? Because that's literally the way Trump writes, calling himself the greatest, throwing out wild insults, and making up these bombastic claims of how you're the greatest, or this is the deadline and stuff. And by the way, I actually am going to do something and fight back. I want more politicians to do that. Why not at this point? I'm sick of people pretending this is some battle that needs to be waged with the core when the other side refuses to do so. But that's not quite the same. Like South Park can't do that. But I wanted to take back that I haven't seen any proper satire of Trump, because I did think this is good. So
I do. By the way, Kyle says that your sound is off. So I don't know. Fix it, TJ. Kyle, tell them what direction it's off. I think that that's part of what makes this a little effective. And I think that we kind of have to dig into the paramount of it all with this, because you're right. Like South Park isn't the governor of the, one of the largest, most important states in our country. It doesn't have the power to necessarily do things, but it does have real stakes. And that's what it is very much alluding to. I thought one of my favorite parts of the first episode is when they come back from commercial and it's 60 minutes and they're like, oh shit, oh fuck, and that is so brutally mean. Of all the attacks on Trump, like you can say what they will, the most scathing personal attack in the two episodes, I think, has been that shot of CBS, not CBS, 60 Minutes, because that's they're both employed by the same people. Like both 60 Minutes and South Park are getting their checks signed by Big Daddy Paramount, and they what's the word? Bent the knee to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They said, "Oh yes, we're going to settle. We're going to give you this money. We are going to not do the things like." They are cowards. They're absolute cowards. It's what we've been saying for 60 Minutes, for several other TV shows, for again Paramount over the Colbert's late night show. Fucking all of the universities that are giving into him, like Columbia and Harvard. It is disgusting to watch. And it's really, I think that part of what gives the satire a little bit more teeth, kind of what you're talking about there with Newsom, is they are kind of risking something here. Like Trump can sue them. Trump can attack them. Trump can go at them personally. He has done this on many, many, many occasions in the recent past. And specifically with their parent company that is signing their checks, he's done that with them. And the funniest thing of this all is that the day before the episode aired, they signed, as I alluded to multiple times, a $1.5 billion agreement to make South Park episodes Paramount. And it basically, as much as they can get canceled and they can get personally sued, it makes it incredibly difficult for the Trump administration to leverage Paramount over this, because they just sunk $1.5 billion into this show. There's no way Trump can actually, not no way, but it's going to be difficult for Trump to be more threatening than just writing off $1.5 billion and canceling the show. I find that to be one of the more interesting aspects of the season so far, and how that's going to continue to play out. What did you think of that?
Well, has Trump said anything about South Park in the last 3 or 4 weeks?
So Trump personally hasn't said something. The Trump sphere has. I'm pretty sure JD Vance has said things. There's obviously been pundits who said things, and we'll get to one of them in particular. There we go. Yeah, well, I finally made it. And I believe there was a statement, I forget if it was from Levitt, it was from someone, where they called South Park irrelevant immediately after the first episode, which I just think is very fucking funny.
I heard that.
Yeah, but Trump himself hasn't engaged, which is actually very much on brand for him, because he usually, when he knows that he's met his match, he doesn't engage. Like when Eminem went at him on the BET Cypher back in 2016 or 28, whenever the fuck that was, he just ignored it. And it's he will take any slight on the View. He's fucking going at him at 2 a.m. in the morning on True Social. But if someone who he knows will fight back effectively against him, he usually cowards away from that fight.
Yeah. I was interested to hear that, because I wasn't sure if Trump responded, because from my point of view, now this is from weeks ago. This is before I started looking at this a lot. I am actually fairly impressed with most conservatives' response to this. I think they're handling it very well. And I first saw this with actually the same thing. I saw this with Charlie Kirk first, and then I saw it with JD Vance in that clip, in that image I just shared there. Because Charlie Kirk, when he found out he was being parodied on South Park, we'll get to that in the second episode, but Charlie Kirk changed his profile picture to Cartman dressed like Charlie Kirk. And of course, his responses were flooded with, "You idiot, they're making fun of you. You moron. This isn't, you shouldn't be happy about this." And JD Vance did the same thing. He posted the image of his little avatar they had on South Park, and he says, "Hey, I finally made it. I'm on South Park." And then of course people are like, "Hey man, you should be mad at this. Why aren't you mad? Aren't you mad, bro?" So there have been, most of them I have seen. In fact, when I watched the first episode, I don't have Paramount Plus, but when I watched the first episode, I watched it on this Twitter account. It was a conservative Twitter account. It was some Tom Homan Stan account, and it's like, "Oh, look at this great episode of South Park." And for the most part, that's what I've seen the conservative response be, which is a good one, which is good. Now, there have been some bad ones. I saw someone mention Kristi Noem. Hugh Jack mentioned how Kristi Noem had a poor response to it. But I was wondering about you, John. Have you, from the conservative sphere, what have you seen in those responses? I guess besides the one I mentioned.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think that like JD Vance, I agree. Like, yeah, lean into it. Like he's just being made fun of on South Park. Like that's just, yeah, lean into that. Like that's the appropriate response. The satire of him so far is just the meme and him being a little bro to Big Don. And so, like, yeah, there's no actual teeth to what South Park is making fun of. You lean into that. The Charlie Kirk one is a little bit different in my mind, because what South Park is doing to Charlie Kirk, I think that he's taking bait big time, because they're not just making fun of Charlie Kirk like they make fun of everyone. They're making Cartman Charlie Kirk. And Cartman is the reason South Park is still on the air, in my opinion. Like, the rest of the characters, they're very fun and entertaining. Cartman is the timeless, classic character that just always stirs the drink. And Cartman is scathing. Like, if you are being played by Cartman, you are being mercilessly satirized. And the way Charlie Kirk is leaning into it is he's just ignoring the satire and being like, hey guys, look, I'm on South Park. And that is cowardly if you're fucking Charlie Kirk. Like, if you're Charlie Kirk and you're pretending to be happy about this, you shouldn't be, because you're getting trounced. Like you are getting manhandled by this show, and you're just pretending. Like, it feels like the meme of like the crying face with the happy mask on, because he's not engaging with what South Park is saying about him. He's not. He's literally he posted the clip of him debating. It was in the second episode, and it's Cartman pretending to be him and debating the girl, and he's like, what was it? It was like, what is a woman, or whatever, that fucking shit. And he cuts that out right before it cuts to the scene of Cartman and his mom, and Cartman's like to his mom, I love masturbating. It makes me feel good. It's so much fun, and all I have to do is talk to these college girls who aren't prepared and just edit out the ones that actually have a good argument. And it's like, that's exactly what fucking Charlie Kirk does. And the fact that he edited that out of the clip that he was posting, it just leans into the satire. And I feel like he's going to overextend himself, and South will come over the top on him, because they're not pulling their punches with him. And he's leaning in the wrong way, in my opinion.
I'd like.
Will it matter? No, but from a rhetorical standpoint, I don't think he's in the right here.
I don't think, much like I don't think you can out satire Trump, I don't think you can out troll Charlie Kirk. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that Charlie Kirk, there's different types of right-wing commentators, as we know. Charlie Kirk's entire thing is making people angry. He's good at it. And he has Charlie Kirk is not stupid. There's a lot of right-wing commentators who are absolute morons. Charlie Kirk is not one of them. He's a pretty bright guy from what I've seen. And of course, so he knows what he's doing. He knows he's being trolled and satired and dunked on. And he says, okay, I'm just going to make people. I don't know a better way to do this, because if I were Charlie Kirk and I was being lambasted on some cartoon, me coming out and saying this cartoon is actually wrong, I think that makes me look worse. So it's like, oh, look, I'll take it as a compliment, and oh, wow, you guys are really pissed off. I'm not mad. Oh, well, that's too bad. You're not going to get that reaction up. You're not going to see me sweat. I think that's the best way to go on this. Right? There's no nobility points in it, but he's not in it for that. But so I don't know. We'll see what happens with this. I don't know.
So I think you are right. Like, Hugh Jass asked here, what is the correct way for Kirk to respond? And I don't think, to be fair, I don't think there is a correct way. I think they have him painted into the corner. And this is where, I actually do think the satire can be effective satire, because you're right. He can't respond and say, no, that's not what I'm doing, or this is because he is. Like, they are telling the truth about Charlie Kirk and his operation and what he does, and they are sending that truth to the Charlie Kirk audience. And if they kind of like peel back the facade there and say, hey guys, look behind the curtain, there's nothing there, the wizard is a lie, I think that is effective. The way that they're attacking the Trump sphere people, including Kristi Noem, is effective because they have weaknesses that their audiences will care about when they're being attacked from people that they respect, like Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And so I do think that that is one of the ways it can be effective. I also just have to say, probably the biggest laugh of the 2 episodes for me, I don't know about you, is when Cartman, he's pissed that Clyde is like taking his shtick. But he's talking to Clyde on the podcast. And he's like, what the fuck? Why are you taking this from me? And Clyde's just like, hashtag respect my authority.
Yeah.
And Cartman is like, respect Clyde's authority. And Cartman's like, what the fuck? And it was just a perfectly timed joke, like perfectly satirizing everything. I just, that's when you're like, this is high art. Like, that is a perfectly executed joke. 10 out of 10, no notes.
Yeah, my favorite laugh was also from Cartman, but it was from the first episode. And it's when he goes to talk to his mom and he's complaining that his favorite radio show program is taken off the air. And he says, yeah, it was PBS.
Yep.
And I would listen to all these liberals whine and complain about their problems. It was really funny to me. I love that. I was like, that's such a Cartman thing to say. That is like he gets all this joy out of people being kicked out of their homes and shit and whining and complaining about it on the air. That was my favorite laugh of the show.
When he was like, they were talking about these girls who were stoned to death. And you know why they were stoned to death? Because they got raped. Shit's hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like, Cartman was killing it with that. So Kyle brings up a good question here that I think is very fair. He says, is satire only effective if it causes positive social change? And what is the goal of satire beyond being funny and showing the absurdity of the powerful? I think that's a fair question, because you can have 2 goals. If your goal is just to be funny, then yeah, fine. I've got a problem with that. But a lot of satire, I think, a lot of the purpose is, I'd like to develop some social change. And now perhaps those 2 disparate goals. You can reach one and not the other, or both, or neither. So I think you can count it as successful if it's funny, but that's ranking it funny as, is it humorous? Is it comical? Okay, but is it political satire that's effective in changing anything? I think you can judge it on both metrics. What do you think, John?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, they're 2 different things. Like, and you have to judge them. And like, when I say, is the satire effective, I'm not talking about, is it funny? Is it funny is part of satire. Like, satire does kind of have to be funny in order to work, but that's not what I mean. Like, you can have funny satire that is ineffective, and you can have effective satire that isn't as funny as some other satire, right? And that's the question. Does it need to actually, in the real world, affect social change in a positive way? That's a little more difficult to parse, because there's different ways that it can affect things. If you expect South Park to change the hearts and minds of the entire nation, you're setting your bar too high. But I think that what South Park can be, and I think what they recognize it as now, at least, is a Trojan horse. I think that the biggest criticism of South Park that has been lobbied against it is that it has created a generation of people, especially your, for lack of a better term, red pill males that are kind of susceptible to that kind of messaging, this nihilistic mindset that typically tends to breed fascism, where, they make fun of everyone, nothing matters. Like, that was kind of the moral of South Park for a long part of its run, is everything sucks, everyone sucks, nothing matters, we're just going to laugh at it. And that was kind of the moral backbone, the thematic backbone of South Park for so long. And that was one of the biggest criticisms of the show, is that, you were doing satire, but what was really the effect of it? Like, the message ended up being, don't care about anything, which isn't positive social change. So you can make a very good argument. It wasn't very effective satire. It might have turned Kanye West into a Nazi. But like, I think they are they're swinging that around a little bit here, because I think that they are recognizing that that audience does care about South Park. It does hold them into some sort of esteem. Like I always say, my content is not so that some conservative is scrolling through TikTok and they see one of my videos and I've changed their mind. I know that that's not going to fucking happen. Mm-hmm. But someone who knows that guy, they're going to watch my video and they're going to learn, oh, this is the type of rhetoric that I can use to engage with these arguments. And when they hear it from their buddy, it's going to be more effective. And I think that that's kind of what South Park is doing here, is that they're going like, hey, guys. Yeah, and they say it a couple times, like in the episode, like, the woke shit went too far, but this is fucking crazy. And that is kind of the through line message of like, yeah, guys, we're here with you. The woke shit is crazy and stupid, and we're going to make fun of it with you. We're still going to say retard and fag and stuff. But like, that's not what this is. This is something different. This is something that is bad, and we should be recognizing it as such because it is fucking different. And I think that that is, if it can open up, put a open the eyes of these nihilists to, hey, maybe this shit isn't all shits and gigs. Maybe these guys are actually the fucking crazy people. That's where it can be effective as satire. You're smiling. Like,
no, it did come up like kind of like Ryan sarcastic. That's not what I meant. But no, I mean, yeah, maybe who knows? It's just they do bear a lot of responsibility in this. I hadn't thought about that until you just said it, because what was that thing that that famous South Park meme is like when you're voting for a president, you're choosing between diarrhea and a douche sandwich or something like that, and that both candidates are just as bad, and this doesn't matter anyway. I can see how South Park had kind of that ethos, and you're right, as you said earlier in the show, that they were kind of known of, we make fun of everybody. That's actually one of the reasons I was driven, like, annoyed by South Park, that everyone said, oh, they make fun of everyone. It's like, well, some people deserve more mockery than others. I don't really think that's a sign of good evaluation that I make fun of. Oh, turd sandwich. Thank you, Hugh Jack. Right there. And Colby brought up something here. He says Kirk is acting like South Park is made by conservatives, pretending that being Hartman is a high honor. He's pretending. Yeah, he knows. He knows this is an insult. Yeah, it's just that I don't know. That's what I think he's doing. He's making the right move. Yeah, he could. Hugh Jack said something here too. Kyle, I feel that claiming he didn't see it would be just as obvious of a lie and would be an even more emblematic that crying face behind the mask.
Yeah. He's in a tough spot.
That's why I said I think he's handling it the best way possible. Like, he's already good at pissing people off and laughing at their reaction and getting all of his folks, all of his Twitter warriors to jump on and laugh at their reactions more. And I think I brought this up last episode, is that the best feeling in the world is when someone does something out of spite or does something that's intended to make you feel angry, and you're like, oh, I'm not angry at all. And then they get angry, which is what Charlie Kirk has done. I've seen so many memes and so many posts about this, and it's basically the news like, oh, hey, man, why aren't you mad? You should be mad at this. You're really dumb for not being mad. You can't force someone to be angry. And if he doesn't show that it's actually hurting him or annoying him, I think he wins. Maybe in the long run it doesn't, but I think it's the best reaction you could possibly have to this.
So that like, I think right now that is a correct thing. Mm-hmm. So here's the nuance.
Yeah.
If you are looking at it from the perspective of Charlie Kirk, it's like, yeah, he probably is playing it as well as he can right now. Now, the people who I find dumb are the ones who are like, yeah, bro, he can take a joke. We can take a joke unlike you guys. And it's like that. If that's your take, you're like, Charlie Kirk is taking the joke. That's not what he's fucking doing. He is not taking the joke. He is actually very intentionally not talking about the joke. Yeah. He's just sort of being like, haha, it's not affecting me. Mm-hmm. And he's not engaging with the joke because he can't. Like, I guess that would be the way to better effectively handle it, is to actually take the joke head on and not like cry about it, but
No,
like
he's
be
gonna
funnier.
outdo South Park. that
Right,
would
you're not going to do it. Like he's
no,
going to
yeah,
lose that
crazy,
fight.
yeah.
So like again, like if you're Charlie Kirk, this is the best you can do.
Yeah.
But he's like fanboys who are like, oh, you're just being. Of course, we can take a joke. No, that's not. I just want to be very clear. That's not what he's doing. He's just kind of playing a bad hand as well as he can, because I do think it's like this to me. Cartman has always been the best part of South Park, as I said, but also specifically in these 2 episodes is very much the most like high art, I guess, of it. It is the most like meta analysis of it, because it's true. Like Cartman created this in a way. Like this, we want to say retard and fag again, like mindset, this ethos that has swept up over the last 4 years or so that has become to dominate culture at this point. Cartman's now like, yeah, what the fuck? It's not fun anymore. It's not fun. Like it only is fun for so long. If the libs ain't even crying because we won so hard, what's the point? I exist to troll. I don't exist to win. I don't exist to hold power. I don't give a shit about any of those things. I just want to make people cry. And that is what Cartman is and always has been. This isn't some change of his character in order to suit the current political environment. It is the current political environment was changed by Cartman and what he represents. And so I find it very telling. Not only is he like pissed off because Cartman is ahead of the curve. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are saying, guys, we know how this works. We've been doing this for 27 years. When the pendulum has swung this far, it's actually not as fun for the Cartmans of the world, and they're going to get bored real damn quick of this. And that's where it gets effective. And I also thought that like there was a line when Clyde first appears and they're in the hallway and Kyle is like, guys, just ignore him. That's how you do this. That's how you win. That's how you because Kyle's like, I've been dealing with Cartman for 30 years. This is how you defeat these people. And of course they never learned their lesson. But like I couldn't help but feel it was about a little bit like the Sydney Sweeney ad. And like at least it confirmed my priors on it, of like the reaction to that gave it more juice than it ever would have otherwise, and the correct response was to ignore it. And it's like, yeah, like that's the correct response to do with these trolls. Just ignore them. And I don't know, I just find that it feels like people, Trey Parker and Matt Stone speaking to us from a position of, guys, we understand this more intimately than maybe anyone else on the planet because we helped create this, and this is what you need to do. And that is the most interesting ongoing storyline that I'm interested to see where they take it, the Cartman, Charlie Kirk thing.
I think that's a great point with Cartman, that Cartman kind of is demonstrative of a large part of the voting populace and young people, where the nihilism and the performative cruelty and the feeding off other people's anger, just like professional trolls. And that I talked to a friend of mine a long time ago. Like I think it was before Bush was elected. George W. Bush was elected. I got to clarify which Bush. I'm so old. George W. Bush was elected, and I was saying that, what's going on here? And they said, oh yeah, I don't really care about the politics. I just want to watch the world burn. And I said, why would you say that out loud? What kind of person are you? Like, what, are you serious? Like that you're even if I thought that, I would never tell anyone. Yeah, I don't give a shit what.
I was agreeing with you. Like, yeah, that's fucking embarrassing.
It's insane. And then it got me thinking more what you were talking about with the satire and the criticism, and saying, hey folks, this absurdity is showing you where we're headed and something bad. And what Kyle asked has been sticking with me ever since then about, is this effective satire? John, can you name one effective satire? Because I've been thinking right now of like a satire that was meant to portray, like famous ones that we would all know, that was meant to portray something. And if it was ever understood by the audience, I'll tell you what came to mind. Married with Children came to mind. Al Bundy is supposed to be a loser. He's supposed to be this detestable, selfish person, this bigoted sexist. People loved him, loved Al Bundy, loved that character. Not, oh, I would hate to be Al, but I mean, it's like he was funny. He was the main character. He's a star. Archie Bunker, the same way with All in the Family. Starship Troopers was, Starship Troopers, like, hey, this fascism thing's pretty bad. Everyone thought, oh, wow, what a great space action war flick. The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. And that one's from way back in the day. For you guys, it was from 100 years ago. Upton Sinclair wrote about, I think it was on the satire, was it? But anyway, it was talking about how bad the meatpacking was and everything, and that we need these socialist programs to take care of the people and how bad the working conditions are. And they said, oh, well, wow, he must mean we need to start the FDA. I think his quote was, he aimed for America's heart, but hit their stomach instead. And I'm actually having a hard time thinking of a satire that actually changed the nation's viewpoint. You had satires that probably piled on. Like you can do a satire about Bush, George W. Bush, or Richard Nixon or something, but at the time, would it have been effective? And I don't know. What do you think?
So again, I think that like setting the bar at change the hearts and minds of the nation for any one piece of satire is incredibly way too high. But I think that satire can be effective in multiple avenues. One, it can change minds, right? Like that's kind of the way that I think a lot of people are thinking about when they hear that is, did it take the cultural consensus on this issue and shift it in a positive direction? Did it take people who previously thought X and make them think Y? And that, I do think that there are certain examples of that. I do think that like The Daily Show and The Colbert Report definitely were effective satire. Like I think that they were incredibly effective satire. I think that they brought people in. For example, I watched a clip of The Colbert Report from, it was with Colbert was interviewing Robert Reich. There's like 3 different guys, all with a very similar name, but the short guy who's a socialist, you know who I'm talking about?
Robert Reich.
Is it Robert Reich? Okay, because like Rob Reich is a different guy. But Robert Reich, he's being interviewed. And I'm watching it. It's a brilliant clip. It's a brilliant fucking clip. It's a brilliant piece of satire because Robert Reich's a socialist and he comes into this pitch with the traditional, hey, I'm coming to this news interview. I don't really know if he understood who Colbert was. And he is selling these ideas to an audience that isn't ready for them. And he understands that. And then at the end of the interview, and Colbert's playing his character, he's like, oh, this is bullshit. You're trying to steal from the fucking rich. We got to trickle down on you and doing that whole shtick. At the end of the interview, Colbert's like, so are you saying that if rich people like me don't provide good enough public services for the poor people, they might unify and unite against us and do really bad things to people like me? And Robert Reich like sits there, and you see the recognition in his eyes, like, oh shit, you're saying the quiet part out loud right now. And he's like, yeah, you could say that. And I remember, I memory hold it. I watched that and I was like, shit, I remember watching this as a kid, and it must have fucking had an impact on me. It must have, because I remember it. I didn't understand at the time exactly what was being winked and nodded at, but it helped push me down that line. And so, like, did it take me from some flaming conservative to a fucking... No, but it was a piece of satire that opened my eyes to something that I would not have necessarily otherwise even engaged with, that eventually led to me going down the pipeline. And so, like, that is how satire can be effective. It can also be effective at preaching to the choir. I think that's another thing where satire can be effective, where you are, I think John Oliver does a good job of this. John Oliver doesn't change any fucking minds. No one watches John Oliver and goes, oh shit, I changed my mind about this issue. But what John Oliver does a good job of is he knows he has this audience and he exposes them to new things and new ideas to care about in a satirical way. And that can be an effective piece of satire too. So I think that, like, those things would definitely be effective. It's hard to think of like a movie that would, like, you're right, Starship Troopers was an effective satire. Like, it was good, it was well done, it was well executed, but in terms of did it do the thing it wanted to do culturally, No, it fucking didn't. Like there aren't actually many that Simpsons
So
like non-political, but Simpsons was a deadly effective satire. It satirized the Albun, like the shows that you just mentioned. It satirized them, and it changed the landscape of network television and sitcoms. And you could not argue that it wasn't effective satire because it changed everything. And so like in that way it was effective. But political satire, it's a little stickier.
I think you kind of nailed it with your preaching to the choir comments on that. That I think satire is kind of permanently in that lane. Because Colbert Report is actually a pretty good example of this, because you would not believe how many conservatives actually thought he was a conservative.
It's insane. It's
It
insane.
It is. I had someone I knew. I said something like, "Oh yeah, Stephen Colbert. He said this thing, but I don't know why. I mean, the guy's obviously a conservative, but he's got some weird views." And I stared at it. I said, and that's why I wish there was a way to implement some sort of IQ floor before you could watch satire. Like I think that the only people that get the satire and understand it would don't need to be convinced of it. Like they see, oh, okay, this is a joke. It's making fun of this, making fun of that. I just don't. I don't know, but that doesn't mean it's bad, because art doesn't need to change the political landscape to be good. Like most art never does, and it can be looked on by posterity and say, okay, this is how people thought at the time. It can be act as a historical, tentpole. But yeah, I think that satire is kind of unfortunately wasted on the people who would already get it and think the same way.
So Kyle says, I just want to point out what Kyle says here. He's making another point here. Kyle says, Greek satire made fun of Athenian democracy, sexism, and warmongering. Sinclair wasn't satire. It was a report on how terrible working conditions were and people only cared about unsanitary food. But going back to the ancient Greeks, they pointed out absurdity, but changed no minds. If satire is a tool of persuasion, I think Jon Stewart is the only effective satirist because he passed legislation for 9/11 first responder healthcare. He did do that. Kyle, that would mean satire only works when it shames the powerful. And I do think that the shaming the powerful is also an effective use of satire. Like, if you do get under the skin of the powerful and get away with it, that in and of itself is effective, because, and it's a little different now, but like back in the day, the only people, if you go back to like the medieval courts, the only people that could criticize the king at all was the jester. The jester could criticize the king if he could make him laugh about it. And that was the only time public criticism of the king could actually be aired. But it could also take its own form. If you could get the crowds behind the satire, then the satire could be effective at diminishing the power of the king. And that does kind of work here. Like, if you can, again, the entire Trump MAGA thing is momentum based. And if you can halt that momentum, if you can throw things in the machine that get people making fun, like Trump's fans making fun of him, it does work. And I don't know if that'll necessarily happen with Trump, but I want to move on to Kristi Noem, because she's been mentioned a couple times. And I do think that it is interesting that they went after her first. They went after her before anyone else, besides Trump, obviously. But she's the first person in Trump's cabinet to be attacked ruthlessly. And at first, my knee-jerk reaction was, we make fun of Kristi Noem a lot, but there's also this little like, okay, are we making fun of Kristi Noem because of like, we're kind of biased against this type of woman specifically? And that was my first thought. I was like, okay, are they doing this like just because it's low-hanging fruit? South Park likes to go after low-hanging fruit. I'm not going to criticize South Park for going after low-hanging fruit, because that's what they fucking do. That's their MO. But I do find it lazy compared to their other forms of satire. But I think that's why it actually fucking works, because Kristi Noem should be hated by the red meat conservative world, right? Like, Kristi Noem is the type of woman that they fucking love to hate. And there's only so long they can put makeup on that pig before she gets eaten by the wolves. And I do think that going after her specifically, going after her appearance, going after the shooting dogs thing is just fucking funny. I think like brilliantly executed, but that's also something that like a lot of people don't actually know about. Like I think a lot of people watch South Park. They're like, why the fuck does she keep shooting dogs? That's very funny. They look it up like, oh shit, she shot a fucking dog. And that is an effective use of satire. I do think that attacking the people in the Trump sphere that aren't Teflon, like Donald Trump is, can be an effective way of moving public opinion in a positive direction in just making the mob eat itself. Would you agree with that?
Well, I don't know where to begin here. I guess first I'll mention with Christy Noam, and I think she's showing the wrong way to react.
Oh yeah,
she's not doing anything.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like she isn't built for this.
No, she's not.
Not built for this.
No, and her going to she sounds like a fucking lib, man. I can't believe you're attacking a woman for her appearance. That's stuff that we say, okay? So you never want to sound like the bad guys, right? And so I was like, wow, Christy, I mean, you've been around long enough. I know this isn't your forte here, but you should know better than to walk into it just like that. So I think that she looks bad. I don't think we've ever had a bigger disagreement than this, John. This is a big one right here. That's from the second episode of South Park, the Christy Noam one. Mm-hmm. I hated the second episode. Like I hated it. I did not like it at all because
interesting.
Yeah, I thought that first the Christy Noam killing dogs thing. There were like 8 scenes of her shooting dogs. Okay, we get it. We get it.
No, TJ. No, I need more of her killing dogs.
I don't know.
It was funny every time she did it.
All right, so I take humor very seriously, right? And I have a high bar for South Park, right? And so like listen, if I was gonna write a joke about Christy Noam, having her walk into a room and shoot a dog is the first thing that would come to mind, right? And whenever you're trying to be funny, the first joke you think of, you should immediately dismiss because that's the one everyone's going to think of, right? That's why this is actually happened. I don't know if I told you this, John. This has actually happened on the show. So for those of you who've been watching the show for a while, the show always ends, and when I put a button on the show, I'll try to think of a joke to add on there. But now the way it used to work is John would say, "Oh, here's the thanks for watching, blah blah blah." TJ closes out, I make jokes, but then John started making jokes, and so what I had to do, I'd be like, okay. So I already think, all right, so if I think of a joke immediately, oh, well, any asshole would think of that joke. So I need to think of another one. John would think of that joke. And I was like, okay, I would think of the second joke. It's like, now I got to think of a joke John's not going to make. That's good comedy, all right? That is how comedy works. And I mean, look,
iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. And so I know like these guys know what comedy is, which is why I was so disappointed. Having her going, I did laugh at the end because when she shot Crypto the super dog, oh, I didn't see that coming. I didn't. And so I said, that almost made it worth it. Maybe if they'd done 2 scenes of her shooting dogs and then paid up the third, but I'm not done. Then we had Christy Noam, her face falling off from Botox. Also an easy fucking joke. Like a first grade level joke. Oh, look, she's got a lot of Botox, huh? Let's do this joke 5 times in the episode. John, how many times did Cartman say master debater? I was going to go back and count. It was at least a dozen. At least a dozen times, Mom, I'm master debating. Hey, another scene 5 minutes later, I got a master debate. And then with what's his name? Garrison, the counselor, when he went to get his finances reviewed and said, well, you got an $8,000 monthly nut. Oh, I got a big nut. I gotta make my nut. They did the nut joke 45 times. It's like, yo, this is embarrassing. I don't know. I was really upset with not only were those jokes baseline jokes, but they kept doing them like half the episode. So yeah, I don't know. I was kind of disappointed in that episode. I wrote down it's one of the worst episodes of South Park I've ever seen. In my opinion, I wasn't a big fan of it. But the Christy Noam thing, yeah, I didn't expect them to go after her right away, right after Trump or whatever. And her reaction was pretty bad, which I do think goes back to how well other people in the Trump administration handled it.
Yeah. So okay, we're gonna engage with that. So I have some parts of agreement with you, some parts of disagreement. 100% agree on the face thing. I thought that joke was low,
only
like
kind of funny the first time.
It was only kind of funny the first time, and then they kept it going. And I was like, okay, but so here's the thing with South Park. I grade them on a curve because the sophomore humor is their shtick, and they have a shotgun approach to it, where they're okay with missing a lot in order to get the big hits.
Yeah.
And so like that I'm willing to kind of write off and just be like, they missed. It's a miss. It's okay. They're going to have misses. It's kind of just how that cookie gets made. I disagree with you on the shooting dogs thing. While I agree generally with your process of, the first joke you think of, just throw it away because there's better shit there. There are times when repeatedly making an easy joke over and over and over again gets funnier. The more you do it, the funnier it gets, because there's a certain point where you're like, oh, they can't possibly, oh fuck, they did it again, and it comes back around. And I think I think it worked. The actual, like, if you look at like the beats of the joke whenever she killed a dog, utterly phenomenal. Like the timing, the visuals, the sound, like they just executed it on a high level. Unlike the face joke, which just like, I mean, it's a face. It's trying to, like, what is even the joke here? Like with the dog, there's a satirical element to that. Like they are satirizing something that actually fucking matters. With the face, it doesn't. I could make a stretch for them and say, well, they're baiting Kristi Noem into making that exact bad response, and she did, and therefore it was effective. And I'd be like, okay, that's an argument, but I feel like I'm working backwards because I don't think that was the intent. I think they were just doing a sophomore bit, and you're right. I don't think it was very funny. But it's very funny that she said that. So, like, again, I'm okay with it. I agree that the Kristi Noem bits and the Garrison bits weren't as good. But I thought that the Cartman storyline very much made the second episode very funny and carried it. And I do think the master debating jokes
embarrassing, man.
I didn't think they were embarrassing. I thought there were some clever ones in there. I think that there is an actual satirical comment being made of, these fucking like debate bro shows, it's masturbation. Like that is an actual satirical message being made. And so I'm willing to give it even more leeway to make the sophomore easy low-hanging fruit joke because it is actually making a point.
Now, so with that, yes, comedy. If you're a funny person, or honestly, all of life it's a numbers game, right? It's about, this is why people respect people who are good at comedy or telling jokes, because it takes a lot of confidence and a lot of courage to tell a joke. The joke might fall flat. Nobody might laugh. You might fuck up the delivery or the timing. Someone might find the joke offensive or rude. There's so many risks that goes into telling jokes, which is why people love us so much, because we can be funny, because they respect it, because they don't got the balls to fucking do it. But like, the problem I have isn't necessarily with the D- joke of master debater. It's a joke we've all heard a million times, but that's not the bad part. The bad part is they did the joke a million times. That's what really, if he had said like that joke when he's on the laptop and said, hey mom, I need to master debate with these college girls, I'd have been fine with that. But no, it was in like every other scene. He's talking about master debating, and that's what I was upset by. And then the monthly nut, this is a big nut. Oh wow, you've got a big nut. No, stop. This does not need to be like the dog joke is the only one that I'm only moderately okay with, because the payoff at the end was worth it. But there's no massive payoff for the master debater, the big nut joke. But even that could have been done 2 or 3 times, not 9. And so maybe I'm just, hold on. It's like TJ is streaming from state federal prison and John from a college dorm in 1999. Hey, listen. Oh, wow. Wait,
this is not our most well-produced episode.
We got comedians in the audience today. Wow, how about that?
But so I also agree, the nut thing to me, that was just like, I don't think they overdid that joke. I just don't think it was a good joke. Like that's one of the, again, I'm just like, I'm
gonna count, John. I'm gonna watch that episode. I'm gonna count how many times they said You're nuts or big nut. I'm gonna count it. I
Yeah,
bet
yeah. It's fine. I thought that the storyline with Ice was good enough that I didn't mind the nut joke not landing, because the Ice jokes did land, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like, wait, when they first of all, when they fucking like break up the door concert, like that's fucking hilarious. When they're like, when they went from, I believe that there are many Latinos in heaven, and then they go to heaven and Ice raid heaven. That's
yeah.
fucking funny. Like that's good. Like, and the again, like the, hey, we're paying 100. That, what, like, you want to talk about effective satire? That got people talking about Ice, and like like that created a discourse cycle about a thing that people do find queasy.
Yeah.
And I do think that was effective satire. So yeah, like again, I do agree with you. The first episode felt a little more polished, and that makes sense. The second episode felt a little bit less polished, but I liked enough of it that I was pretty happy with it. Specifically the Cartman thing. Like again, like whenever Cartman is firing on all cylinders, I basically don't need anything else in the show to be good. Oh, and also the Cartman Butters dynamic. This isn't even like satire. Butters does not get the credit he deserves. Butters is such a great character. He's so funny. The way his parents treat him is, when his mom's like, go play with your buddy. He's here. He's saying it's Tuesday, something special. He's playing with a hose in the garage. And it is so funny. Butters is hilarious. He's like, yeah, I'm going to kill myself and you. Butters like, what do you mean? And he gets in the car with them because he can't not, because it's Butter. I fucking love that. I just, nothing really commentary there. Just Butters needs his roses.
I love that. That might have been my favorite joke of the second episode, is when they're saying that they have an electric car, and then it smash cuts. So he's like, well, it's gonna work any minute now, I'm sure. And they're waiting for the fumes to kill him.
And Garvin's like, the human body takes a long time to die on its last grasp. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like, that's a joke that happens all the time, where Cartman tells everyone something that is absurd and gets people to go along with him. And that joke always works because that's how kids operate. That's how middle school life is.
Yeah.
Someone comes in and says something like it's true, and everyone just believes it because no one knows what the fuck they're talking about because they're middle school kids, but they want to pretend they do. And it's satire that is timeless, and it always fucking works. And it's part of the reason why, like, it's like, yeah, this actually works because they know what the fuck like all of these fucking right-wing conservative, they just grew up, they're just older now.
Yeah.
And they're doing the same sort of shit.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't get to. I meant to talk about like beats from the first episode. I rather wrote them down. I didn't go over ones I liked here. And I think I brought up Cartman being upset that NPR was canceled because you can't hear liberals whine anymore. That's one of my favorite jokes in a long time. That's pretty great. And then I wrote down Kyle's dad using ChatGPT to ask.
Yes, I'm glad you did. I wrote that down too.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know. I've been seeing a lot lately. You know how I feel about ChatGPT and LLMs and stuff, and how I want them obliterated from the planet. I wanted to ask if you've seen those news stories about what people are using AI and ChatGPT for. They're using them for communication, as in like, hey, I saw this whole story on co-parenting, like parents who divorced and they're raising their kids. And they would ask ChatGPT what to say when communicating with their ex-spouse before sending the text messages. They said, yeah, we use entire conversation like that. I just filter it through ChatGPT. I said, this is psychotic. And then I saw a story about people who are using ChatGPT as their therapist. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that story, but I believe it.
Yeah, they say, oh yeah, it's free therapy. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. And then they updated ChatGPT, and people are devastated because they feel like they lost a friend. And it's over, John. It's over. It's done. I think that the ship has sailed in this humanity thing, that we're too accustomed to ChatGPT. I saw a debate between Destiny and this conservative guy, and he says, "Well, let's see what ChatGPT has to say." It's like, folks, stop. This is ending here.
And then say that, or the conservative guy?
The conservative, yeah, the guy that was arguing with Destiny said, "Well, let's see what ChatGPT has to say. If ChatGPT can verify this, as if it's an actual legitimate source." Then I wrote down, "This is a great demonstration of how desperate conservatives are to be angry." Oh yeah, that's when they switched over to Jesus being in the school and everything.
Wait, hold up. I want to say something about the ChatGPT thing.
Oh, sure.
So, like, I agree with you. We're fucking cooked. I hadn't heard about the divorce thing. Actually, like that one, I'm like probably better than the alternative. Like, I'm just like, usually I'm like, if you're using ChatGPT to formulate text for you to communicate, you're an idiot who's just cheating yourself and everyone around you out of what makes life. In that situation, probably for the better. Yeah. Probably better off that it's being filtered through ChatGPT.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah, because they were saying that ChatGPT prevents them from saying something that would make them look bad in court.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, you're right. I get that, but be a better fucking person, okay? Like, learn how to talk.
That's the thing. Like, divorced people are the worst people. Like, that is when you're going through a divorce, you are the worst version of yourself. And so that's why I'm like, yeah, no, let the computer talk for you. You can't be trusted in that moment.
Yeah.
What you're saying, I think that I hope that they go there with that, because I thought it was a very funny scene with Randy talking to the ChatGPT and his wife just being like, "What the fuck?" And Randy's a great character. I thought Randy, but like I do hope because they should explore that a little of like, this is fucked. They're going to do a whole like her storyline with.
Hers a great film, by the way. Those of you who haven't seen it, it's fantastic.
What one of that you talk about ineffective satire. It was right too early. Like, because when that came out, people were like, "Oh, this is kind of absurd."
Yep.
Oh my fucking God, no, it is not. Every single thing. You go back and watch that movie, and you're like, "This is the world we're about to be living in, and it is terrible."
Yeah. This is when I think it was Kyle. He was talking to someone, and Kyle. They were telling Kyle that he needed to convert to Christianity, or he'd be kicked out of school. And Kyle says, "I think that's illegal." And the guy says, "Bro, it's 2025. Not much is illegal anymore." I thought that was a great joke. That was fantastic.
PC principle, power Christian principle, just like that works. Good job. It's not even like it's very funny, but just like
it fits.
I thought of that.
And then there was the scene when Trump, he's at a pool party or something, and they're praising Christ and everything. And I just wrote down, this is trite. This isn't a genius observation by TJ or anything, but Trump being the hero for modern day Christians is so funny. It's so hilarious that the most depraved, vile, evil man like in American politics, which is really saying something, is someone they would die for. We were talking about how this satire or anything like this, or getting the ball rolling to make it okay for these folks to think, oh, we can make fun of Trump. It's actually kind of stupid. And you said you weren't sure if it would work with Trump. I'm not sure either, because while they love Trump, they hold him to such a low bar. Like even they would tell you, oh, sure, yeah, he looks ridiculous in his orange makeup and his girdle and heels and platinum blonde hair, and he sounds like a fourth grader, but we love him for it, which is why he's kind of impervious to this stuff. That even it's hard to, I can't think of anyone else like this, like not one, where people don't take him seriously, but they love, adore, and worship him at the same time. I literally can't think of another example in politics, at least, and that's why I think it's just funny watching the Christians throw themselves at this guy's feet. And then I wrote, the entire conservative movement is about trolling right now. If Trump is ever rejected by the GOP, people will say that he wasn't serious and none of this is a big deal. Yes, can't believe I forgot about that. That if there's ever like this incredible moment of reckoning where everyone in the country says, oh, wow, that Trump guy's pretty fucked up. They'll think, who cares? He was just joking around and so were we. And at least we had some fun along the way, right? That's the best case scenario from this. That is the best case scenario. And that's a pretty dark future if you ask me.
No, we'll see on that. I don't know. I can't even predict how the fuck that'll all play out. And I do hope it does play out. But yeah, we'll see. I do think that the suing people aspect of it, this is why I think that this character could work, is because it accentuates his worst qualities in the minds of his supporters. Like that kind of person is not liked. In the reason they're like, oh yeah, Trump, like he's an asshole, he's doing these things, like he's tough. It's like, no, this person isn't tough. He's fucking a rich hoity-toity guy who's fucking suing people to threaten them. And like that isn't liked by your conservative base, like that type of person, that type of character. And that's why I'm like, it could work. I don't think it will necessarily work very effectively, but at least it is, I think, the correct shot to take. What was the one last thing I want to say on the Trump thing? Did you know that the PSA wasn't AI? Like, that was an actual person in a fat suit and makeup.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I thought it was AI. No, it was a real shot, real person. They went out to the desert, they shot it. He was in a fat suit, put makeup on. The dick was someone's finger that they put like a little thing around. Like,
how did they? Wow, that was the most AI looking thing I'd ever seen. It had that
it
weird AI sheen on it.
Yeah, no, but it wasn't.
That couldn't have been on accident. Like, they purposely made it look like AI when they could have just used it. All right, cool.
I think that was very funny. Like, I think that's one of those things where the level of effort made it funnier. Like, knowing that they physically went and did that made it funnier. One of the reasons using AI to make art kind of sucks, because the level of effort does affect the way that I see the art. I do think that was because that was the rest of my notes on just like random shit. Last question I have before we get to our ratings here. Where would you go after this? Like, what would you attack next?
Oh, if I were a South Park, like, what would I try to make fun of? Epstein. I mean, I don't know if they did it before, but I would go way deep. They talked about Epstein in the first episode. You could do an entire episode on it. You could do an entire episode with flashbacks, with cameos. I just like, that is a gold mine right there. And if anything's gonna hit home with Trump from South Park, I think an Epstein parody is like, it's easy money.
Yeah, I think that they're kind of waiting. Like, I think that is loaded
for
in the
what? For what?
They have
the iron is never going to be hotter, right? I mean, what would you wait?
We'll see where they go. I mean, they kind of did that. Like, they had like fucking Dora like giving the massages at the fucking parlor. Like, you can tell that they're loading up on it, and I'm waiting to see where it goes. Yeah, that's a pretty obvious one. Yeah, no, I think I do like that. So anyway, our ratings. So I'm switching up the ratings a little bit here.
All right.
Because this is what I'm going to call our ongoing show rankings. Because it's different to rate an ongoing piece of television than it is to do a self-contained movie, right? Mm-hmm. It just felt wrong to do the categories that we were doing. Some of them are similar. So here's what I got. First category, humor. Second category, plot. Third, AV, audiovisual experience. Fourth, overall entertainment value. 5, politics and themes. And 6, the like kind of new one I have in here, show growth. Is this show growing in a positive or negative direction from what it previously was?
I don't know if I'm in a place to do that ranking because I haven't watched the show in over a decade.
That's okay. So okay. Again, we're not being paid for this, TJ. If you came here for the definitive expert analysis of South Park, I mean, you probably got a lot of good shit. But this is not it. We are not South. I haven't watched South Park consistently for a long time. TJ even longer. But I do think that that's important when we're going to do this for the boys. We're going to do this for not Infamous, for Invincible. There's going to be many shows that we're going to critique that are ongoing, and I do think it's important to talk about it in that context. So anyway, number 1, humor. Where would you rank the show?
You go first. You go first this one. I'll go first.
So I think that I would give this a B+ for humor. I think that there was several laugh out loud moments, but like it's still not A-level humor, even on the South Park scale of things. It's not at the levels of greatness that it has achieved in the past.
I hate to do it, but I'm giving it a B- on the humor just because that second episode did not do it for me. It just didn't. Like the first episode was good. That second episode really drug it down. Like I laughed a couple of times, but overusing the easy jokes, I wasn't on board with that. No disrespect to the first episode or even the Cartman storyline, which is, I agree with you, like the redeeming grace of the episode in general. But I'm going to B-.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. We'll split it in the middle and go B. I think that I'm giving more leeway and leash to it because of South Park and what South Park is. But like if I was like in a vacuum analyzing the humor overall, I'd be like, oh yeah, you're gonna take a lot of hits on your rating for these big misses. But I kind of just bake that into my South Park experience because it can't get the greatness of South Park without the misses. It just cannot be done, and therefore I don't rate misses as bad as I would a show that had a year to write and craft and hone. It's just I don't think that's a fair comparison. But I think B for the humor. So far, I think that's fair. Plot.
I don't know. Well, what am I going to say to that? I don't know. Well, I didn't know until you mentioned at the beginning of the show that South Park had switched to doing season-long arcs instead of like self-contained episodes. I don't think I knew that. But man, plot, I don't know. I'm going to give it a B for plot too, because I mean, like no one watches South Park for plots, right? There's just really hilarious, funny. There's settings, I guess, and then I don't know, go ahead.
I think it's fair to give it a C plus. It's like
what are we doing here?
No one watches South Park for the plot, and so it almost feels weird to knock it for the plot. But it's a C plot. I can't realistically give it anything above in a B. It's just you're
right. It doesn't.
It keeps it moving. It goes from A to B. It's well paced. That's the one thing I'll give with the plot is it's very well. These are well paced episodes, well written episodes. Just you're not watching it for the plot.
Yeah.
There's a few episodes in South Park that you are there's a few episodes of South Park where I am engaged by the plot. For example, there were the one that was the fucking you probably didn't watch it, but the 2012 election one where Mickey Mouse stole the election results. That plot was fucking awesome. I specifically remember that one, very funny. But yeah, you're not watching South Park for the plot. C plus, let's go with it. Audiovisual experience.
Okay, once again,
it's South Park. It's very hard. South Park is hard. It's it's its own genre of television.
It's like I don't know.
So the way I'm looking at this, TJ, because you're not oh, I'm very engaged by what I'm looking at. I'm saying, how does the audiovisual experience affect the overall entertainment value of the show? Because, for example, like I said about the dogs thing could have not been very funny at all, but the execution of the timing and the visuals and the audio elevate it. So that's kind of where I'm looking at, does what's happening on screen elevate what the show is trying to do? And I think that it does, but also it's South Park. It's not, that's not what you're necessarily here for. It's were the visual gags funny? Were the audio gags funny? And I think they were, and I give it a B for it.
Okay, I'll stick with B too, because it's I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something that's fair to judge.
Actually, you're right. B minus. I can't even give it a B. It's
because it's like that. Because did the beats of the joke work? All right, I wouldn't classify that as audio visual. And there's very few visual jokes too. I don't know. It seems unfair to grade stuff. I feel bad giving it a B.
You're right. I'm actually I'm doing this, and I'm agreeing with you. Overall entertainment value.
Okay, overall entertainment value. Overall, I wasn't upset I watched it or whatever. There were a lot of really good jokes. I was hoping that it would rise to the occasion. Cartman's jokes about PBS being canceled were great. So a lot of the Trump stuff was funny. I'll give it an A minus.
A minus. I was gonna say B plus.
Okay.
I think because we gave shit like Superman a fucking A minus. You know what I mean? And it gets different things, but it no, it was good. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, it's never great, but it's not trying to be great, which is why it's difficult to judge.
South Park has been great though at times. Grades are hard to give out. You're not going to get a lot of A pluses or even A's, and so there's nothing wrong with a B plus or an A minus. when Cartman was a slave owner or pretending to be a slave owner.
Oh, the crack baby NCAA associate. That's one of the best.
A+. Like if there's
A+.
Yeah. So these are different metrics. We're getting different genres, but an A+ is possible. But yeah, I didn't see anything at that level.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And then politics and themes.
Politics and themes. I guess I agreed with. Are we going to like? Are the politics good or were they presented well?
So when I'm talking politics and themes, and this is a through line through all of what we're doing, and we're going to continue, whistling down this definition. But I'm talking, is the political message good? Like, is it a positive political message? And then is it well executed? Like, it's both of those things. And kind of like we're talking about satire, is the satire effective? And you can kind of take that as many ways. Is the politics of the show and themes effective? Both in what it's saying is the right thing to say and the way it's saying it works.
It's hard to find a lot of complaints with the politics. Honestly,
yeah.
What
this is the one I give an A.
Yeah, me too. I was trying to think of, because there wasn't any both sidesing or, well, this is, we have, no, it was presented in all the absurdity and the nonsense, even showing like the most ridiculous character saying, oh, I'm a bully and a horrible person too, but I don't want a preacher in school. I mean, it's just, I have a hard time making any criticism there, so I agree with you.
Okay, are we on A there?
I mean, A is good for me, yeah.
Okay. It is like, that could grow to an A+ easily with this show. Like, they could absolutely knock it out of the park, and I could go all the way to an S by the end of the season. Like that's the foundation has been laid for that, and we have to see where it goes. But yeah, 2 episodes in, it's hard to give it more than an A, just based on what it is. Yeah. Okay, show growth. I think this is way better than anything I've seen in South Park in years.
I'm giving this one an NA. I have no idea because I have not watched in years, but I guess it did grow. I'll watch, because I did see enough to make me curious about what they're going to add here.
Yeah,
it is talked about. A lot of people are talking about it, so it's hard to say it's not working.
Exactly. Like, I was off of South Park. Like, in fact, I went when it first aired and they were doing Trump and it went viral and everything. I was like, I have no interest in watching this. I've been off of South Park for so long. Last time I watched South Park, I was actively like, I don't like this. I'm not enjoying this. And then I watched the episode and I was like I was watching the clips and I was like, okay, I see what these clips are doing. And then I was like, maybe I'll give it a try with the whole episode. And I was very, very happy with what I saw. And I do plan on watching the rest of the season. I don't have Paramount Plus, but I have YouTube TV with Comedy Central. So that's the way to do it, folks. Don't fucking buy Paramount Plus. Pirate that shit. Overall rating. I'm giving it a B+. Overall rating. I think that's a fair rating from what I saw. I'm giving it a B+. Not still room for growth, but I did like it for the most part. Yeah, and I think that what we have to do here is, like, these ratings are not ever going to be universalized. Because I think we also gave Superman a B+. And in no way in my mind can I possibly look at these two things and go, Superman and South Park equal levels of quality. It's not the case. I'm judging this based on, like, all of these ratings to me are based on what it is, what it's trying to be. Did I enjoy it for what it is? And I do think that that's kind of where this sits. It's B+. And B+ is kind of what South Park is trying to shoot for in general. They sometimes hit greatness. They have a lot of shit, and they're generally trying to maintain that B level, and I think it worked here. Yeah. All right, Conservatory of the Ozarks says, great show. I do think that is the show here, TJ. So anything to add before we close it out here? Only thing I'll add is, like, one thing I forgot to mention about what I wrote down in the notes, and that someone said, I think I saw a sign when Trump was walking, and they wrote, "He gets us." And I said, that's the best encapsulation I've ever heard or seen of Trump's crowd and Trump's audience and his followers, that he gets them. That, like, he behaves like they behave, and they love him for it.
and they always will. So I thought that was a good bit of writing. That was just in the background right there. I was like, that's perfect. It's not funny, but it's depressingly accurate.
All right, well, thank you. If you made it to this point in the episode, you are, once again, I haven't said this in a while, you're our favorite guest. Thank you for being here. Make sure to like and comment. If you want us to do a full season review at the end of the season, make sure to let us know that because we probably won't otherwise, or unless it's really good, we have to revisit it because I don't think much is going to change. But we're going to be doing many more of these. There's many more shows and movies to come from the Left Wing Film Club. Make sure to let us know what you want us to review in the comments. And Tuesday, we are going to be back with our regularly scheduled. No, we're not, because TJ is going to be here. Never mind. Check back with us at a later date when I'm looking at the show calendar for when we are going to be airing our next usual airing of political commentary. But until then, TJ, what do you got?
Yeah, John's right. I'll be gone next week, folks. So if any of you are auditioning to be a co-host for the Left Wing or the Left Wing Film Club, please let us know. You can contact us at leftwingpod@gmail.com. We'll catch you guys later. Or a producer.